Welcome to the Unfiltered podcast. My name is Mikey, your host for today's episode. Today, we are talking all about booking more weddings. And I'm sure a lot of you guys that are watching and listening want to learn how to do that. So, I have some amazing wedding professionals today that will share their strategies and their approach to marketing and how they book their clients. So, let me introduce first my boy Nick to the channel. So give me 1 second. Okay, you know what? Let's just invite everybody here. I'm having some issues, but
Yeah.
so Nick,
Yep.
Nicholas Sitarski, he's a wedding photographer based out of Southern California. I have Miss Vanessa Narvios. She's an amazing wedding planner out of Temecula. Miss Joann Salgado, amazing makeup artist out of Riverside, California. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Great to be
Hey,
here.
everybody.
Thank you guys for hopping on. So let's talk about booking more weddings. But I think before we even get to that, I really want to share some stats with everybody. That'll be, I think, very interesting because you kind of have to understand the market first, right? And
Right.
some people may not know some of these stats. So let's kind of break it down. So according to, there's a website called Wedding.Report. And this is where I pulled this numbers. So in California, specifically in 2022, there was over 290,000 weddings in California, and it was ranked number one in the United States. So, I mean, guys, there's a lot of clients in California.
Yep. A lot of potential out there.
Exactly. Now, let me show you guys a number that may shock some people, maybe not, depending. So this is the average cost of weddings in California in 2022, and it was ranked number 5. So it gives you an idea, like, people spend money on weddings, right?
Yep.
I mean, some people ball out. Some people, if you're a celebrity or if you just have money, spend hundreds of thousands. So, and then let me share one more stats before we dive deep into everything else. So this one right here is from weddingwire.com. Over 2 million weddings have occurred in 2022. So it's almost 7,000 a day, which is insane. Insane.
That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's another report I can, pull up, but basically there was a decline in 2020, right? Because of the pandemic, but every year, it's not really much of a decline. It's staying pretty stable so far. So, our market is a $70 billion market, which is amazing. So let me show you one more stats. I think this is pretty interesting. Let me pull this up really quick. So this is an interesting one. Because I don't know if you guys know, but I believe it's on Wedding Wire, you can actually go on the website and you can actually, if you're looking for, let's say you're a wedding client, you're looking for a vendor, right? You can actually type, choose by vendor, and then also click, type in your zip code, and you can actually figure out the average cost. So this right here, this is the average cost of wedding planners. But again, that's probably starting cost for most wedding planners. So in the IE, it's much less, right? If that was in like San Francisco, it's probably like triple the price. Yeah, so,
I'm sure.
or Hawaii. It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, so that kind of gives an idea that there's a ton of opportunity for us, right, as wedding professionals. In California alone, it's insane. Like, so many wedding venues. I'm sure Vanessa, you connect with so many wineries in Temecula, which is, I don't know how many wineries they have now, right?
Yeah, over 50. It's crazy.
Holy and I think they're building more every year, right?
Yes. There's a lot more in the planning department that are going to be going in the next couple of years. Huge ones, like Europa size, like humongous. So
insane. Well, let's start with you, Vanessa. Maybe just give a quick like summary of like your experience and your business, and then kind of let's dive into like how you book your weddings.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me first and foremost, and I'm super excited to be learning from you all today. So I originally started out in the corporate events world and started a company actually living abroad. I used to live in China for a long time. And then, so I ran my company there for about 5 years before I moved back to the US during the pandemic, because of course everything was closing and everything was getting crazy. So I moved back home, which is to the Temecula area. And I eventually got back into weddings once it was legal to, to start them again. I think I got into it a little before it was legal. But there wasn't a lot of corporate stuff going on at the time anyways, and living in wine country, it's all about weddings. So I used to say that was the only type of event that I don't do, and now that's mainly what I do. So it's always good to be open to new opportunities. But I love that I've transitioned into the wedding world. It's a lot of fun and exciting to connect with all the different couples, and it's just been a really great transition, and I've loved it. So in 2022, I did 66 weddings. It was a lot for my first like official full year back in business and being in the US, especially without having a prior network and all that kind of fun stuff. So it was quite the hustle, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I started because I was starting out from scratch, and because I didn't, I wasn't on any venues or anything like that. I mean, I went the more traditional route and did the knot and the wedding wire and paying for that, which is expensive for all those who are on it. It's a monthly fee that I hate. But I think when you're just getting started, it's definitely a good place to start. But it's definitely not the end all be all. I really got the volume because a lot of my business is either month of or day of coordination. It wasn't a lot of the full planning in the beginning. So yeah, I started to connect with venues right away because I was really wanting to connect with them and really see, okay, where do my brides want to go? Where are the brides that I personally want to book? Where are they going? And how do I kind of reverse engineer that versus just like, hey, this is what I do, book me. So I wanted to start working with the venues specifically, which I know a lot of people try to do that, but I really tried to do a targeted approach and pitch my value and things, and it worked out. So I do all the weddings for a couple of different wineries in wine country, and yeah, it was actually perfect storm because they needed people because of COVID. They had to get rid of all their teams, and then I was able to like slide right in there. So that was nice. Yeah. But yeah, now I go all over. I've branched out of just the Temecula area. I go to Orange County, San Diego, Palm Springs, not too much up into LA, but I try to get around.
That's awesome. Amazing. I mean, 67?
66. Yeah.
60 is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus like all the other social events that I did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It was, I don't recommend it, to be honest. I was a little burnout. I don't know why, but yeah, it was fun. It was a lot.
That's awesome. That's amazing. All right. So let's move on to Miss Joann. We'll skip Nick. Everybody knows Nick, right?
Everybody knows me.
All right, Miss Joann. Yeah, let's tell us about your experience. I know you have a ton of experience. So like, give us a synopsis of like where you started from and where you at now.
Well, I started in about 2004 after going to school out in Burbank and just learning like the basics and fundamentals of makeup. Of course, you try to find different avenues of what you want to do. For me, I just stuck with something that was local to my area. My kids were little at the time. They were young, and so they needed, mom to be home at least some of the time. So I took on retail for about 6 years before. And so that really gave me an opportunity to really, just like kind of keep, practicing my craft, getting to know different textures, different types, and people, and customer service, and servicing people. So I did that for about 6 years, but knew that that wasn't the path that I really wanted to stay on. I really wanted to just, if I could just sit people down and make them pretty, that's the dream job. So I eventually went on my own. I've been out on my own for about 12 years. And about 10 of those years, specifically targeting brides and bridal parties I just love that experience with the brides to be able to have such an intimate time with them before their wedding and really get to know their story, how they found out, how they found their love, and how their families are evolving into one. I really love that experience about them, and just really trying to make my client feel comfortable and beautiful and really being able to be photographed like
Yeah.
at all angles, because there's a lot of photography, videography that goes into their wedding day. So I really strive to make want to make my brides and their bridal parties just look their absolute best for their big day. And so just working in the bridal industry is much different than just doing makeup and being a makeup artist, because not only is it about the hair and the makeup, but it's also about the logistics of getting married on that day. So time, like we talked about before, timing is everything when it comes to a bride. So I need to have all those specific details in order to figure out how much time I need to get that bride done on time, in her dress, photographer ready to shoot, and they're going, and I'm not holding anybody up.
Right.
So when you work in this business, you really got to know what's going to happen next. You got to know the next step. You have to really be on it, and if not, there's going to be a lot of people that are not happy, because not only are you're having to answer to the photographer, to the videographer, the planner, the venue, the church, all of that stuff makes plays a big part in it. So that's what makes me different, I think, than other artists, because I really do specialize in that field, where how many bridesmaids, how many hair, how many makeup, how many hours, how long does it take to get to this location, to that location?
Right.
Okay, where are you going to put your dress on? Where's the photographer going to meet you? All those little details, they really matter. And if you're not in the bridal industry, then you're not going to know that. You're going to think, oh, you're getting married at 4:00. Okay, I'll have you done by 3:30. No. I'll know that. Undergarments, dressing, the pictures, all of that good stuff. So that's really where I stand. And I love this industry, and I just want to keep, making brides beautiful and feel comfortable about what they're wearing as well.
Yeah. And the cool thing I think about your brand is that you actually have a studio too in a venue, which is,
Yes.
I mean, it's a big plus, I bet, when clients come in, because you have a beautiful space, and then
Thank you.
and that's where you do most of your trials, right? Like your makeup
Yes. So
trials.
so when the pandemic hit, I relocated back down to downtown Riverside
Mhm.
in that studio location. And so all of my like special event clients, my bridal previews, they're done there. Of course, on the day of the wedding, everybody's different, so it just all depends on what the logistics are. So I might have to travel, or you might come to me. But like you said, I am in a venue, and the area there's lots of venues around the area. So it's a really prime location for me. I'm really happy there, and business is going really well with all the things that are going around there. There's the location that I'm in. They actually have 3 or 4 other locations: the Old Chapel, Citrus Park, Windmill Canyon, and Loft 84. So I'm in a prime location right in downtown.
Exactly. That's awesome. Great.
Joanna, are you at the loft?
Yeah, I'm inside the loft.
Yeah.
Right across from the barber. Right across
Yeah.
from the barber.
There's a barber too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different people there. A lot they
Yeah.
they shoot podcasts there. There's a music teacher, IT guy, barber, the catering, so all kinds of businesses there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Nick. Tell us a little bit about your photography history, and where are you located, Nick?
I completely washed that all out because I
forgot?
thought I was off the hook. Yeah, I'm from somewhere. No, my name is Nicholas Sitarski. I'm based out of Riverside, California, wedding and portrait photographer. I started shooting weddings in 2020. I started up 2019, getting into it. 2020 was for reals, and right during the pandemic. And which was fun. Doing, like we were talking about right before, doing a lot of underground weddings was interesting. And I started off my first year only doing a couple weddings, and my second year, 2021, I think I got up close to 25, maybe 30 weddings. And luckily I had met Mike, and because he got me real prepared for all that. I started second shooting and assisting with him, and thought I was prepared, and learned real quick what that meant. Lead shooting 30 weddings, but I've been shooting portraits since end of 2018, 2019. And as far as portraits go, I do kind of a little bit of everything, studio, and I'm actually was just telling them that I just booked a cosplay shoot, and I do a lot of families as well. But as far as weddings go, since then I've been full-time since 2020. Company I was working for in 2020, due to COVID, they closed doors permanently, and I had to make that choice of following my passion as a professional full-time photographer or going back, and haven't looked back since. So I've been blessed with that, and yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome.
Very cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially during the pandemic. I mean, that was a hard time for everyone to, to make a profit. So, well, let's dive deep into specific topics about how to book more weddings. So I'm sure a lot of people that are listening, they want to know, like, how do you book more weddings? Like, I mean, it's not as simple as we make it out to, but yeah, the whole premise about, the service industry, right, is we have to generate leads and generate inquiries in different ways. So let's start with Vanessa. In terms of like your leads and inquiries, like where did you get most of those? Was it through organic where you had referrals, or was it through like a lot of your promotion that you did? Like, tell us a little bit about how you got most of your leads.
So I think mine was, I'd like to say it was all a little bit organic, but they did definitely come from all different avenues, right? Because you can't just put all your eggs in one basket and for example, sign up for the Not in the Wedding Wire and think that you're going to become, successful overnight. Because scams, which I'm like, I wish they would fix that, but you just can't expect that it's all going to come from one avenue just because you're paying, to be listed on these sites, right? So mine really came a lot from referrals for with different vendors that I had partnered with. Again, because I came back, with everything being shut down, I didn't know anyone in the industry. I really reached out a lot to people that I thought shared the same values as me, that they would have a similar clientele that, would be my type of clientele, and really people that I thought were on point and delivering quality work. Because at the end of the day, it's all a reflection. You are who you hang around with, right? So that's actually how Mike and I got connected, because I touched base with him. I'm like, hey, I'm new in the area. Like I'm building my own personal, preferred vendors list. So I'd love to work with you. I've seen your work. I've been watching you online. I've been watching, what you put out into the world. And I think it's awesome. So working with people that I thought were quality helped to then bring me some leads. It definitely wasn't from social media in the beginning. I think I just got my first social media inquiry the other day, and like that inquiry and booked, and it was like, oh, wow, a very nice chunk of change. So I was like, oh my God, social media works. Like, I'll be dang. Yeah. It took a while before it actually like brought revenue. And I think that that's just because maybe the point in which I come into the business, the timeline for the bride in terms of like their planning and stuff. A lot of my brides either come to me in the like kind of what I like to say, like an oh shit moment, where they're like, oh my gosh, like there's so many decisions and I'm so overwhelmed and scrolling forever and I can't get anything done. And like, or they had a baby, or they changed jobs, or they moved, or their mother-in-law is driving them crazy. So it's like these crazy moments where then they're like, I can't hire a planner, I'm out of this. Like, I'm done, I tap. Or they found me through a venue, right? So then there was either one or a couple to choose from, and then that's how they ended up finding you. So I don't know, kind of a different way, but I think definitely the most beneficial for people, especially people that are watching this, having your network of trusted professionals, whether it's makeup artists, whether it's photographers, whether it's the catering companies, knowing them, really understanding like how can you help to benefit them, not just like, hey, can you put me on your list? Hey, can you put me on your list? When like they don't even know you, right? That's like ridiculous. So I started when I was first reaching out to other vendors. I was like, hey, like I'd love to blog about the services that you provide. I'd love to, you know, promote some of your galleries. I'd love to, you know, showcase some of your work. Like, how can I help you and further your reach? Even though my personal like social media reach was quite small at the time, and it's definitely grown, but it was still like, how can I help you to then eventually help me, right? So it wasn't like, hey, can I get on your list? Or like, or spam emailing people. Oh my God, I get them all the time. I'm like, PSA people, don't do that. Like, stop doing that. It doesn't work. I don't know who that works for, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. But yeah, let me interject really quick. Because I had a really amazing conversation earlier today with Pearl Bonilla. Shout out to Pearl. She's the founder of The Connect. So, and that's kind of how we all connected with you, Vanessa and Pearl. And I think in the wedding industry, I think a lot of people just don't connect, you know, as much as they think they do, right? Because it's a small niche, right? So like even with Joann, like I referred, like I believe one of my brides to her, I think it was yesterday, right? And then
yeah, 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. And then, you know, and of course, like when I refer anyone, normally they trust me, right? So then they booked Joann almost in, I think the same day, right? Yeah. So it's amazing the network that you build, which is very important because most clients will trust someone if they refer someone else that they know, right, Vanessa?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's and for me, like I always, because a lot of times they come to me and they're like, okay, great, like we've got our venue, but like we need help with everything else. And so I always say, you know, okay, I do my due diligence, and I always recommend 3 in each category, so they don't think that I'm getting some kickback or like playing favorites, or you know, maybe it's not the right style, especially with photography. I mean, well, with makeup too, but I mean, or food, right? I'm like, okay, here's my top 3. If you don't like any of those, we can go back to the drawing board and see what, you know, something that's more with what you're looking for. But I mean, Mikey's always on the top of my list of people that I refer because he always delivers, he follows up. And, you know, I think letting people know that you referred them is very important, because so they're not like blindsided. And then also like following up and then making sure that, hey, did you get back with them? Well, you know, what did you think? Do you think it's a good fit? You know, so then I know what to expect on my side when they come back to me. You know what I mean? So it's like just having that communication and making sure it's, you know, these people have usually only gotten married once. Maybe it's their second time around, but sometimes it's the third, but not so often. It's just making sure, like, they don't know what they're expecting. You know what I mean? So you really have to like handhold them, no matter what what specific role you are in the industry. There's a lot of hand holding that needs to happen, right? So that's our job. So I try to do
that's
it a lot.
awesome. Yeah, so that's one way, if you guys are listening, is the benefit of networking and connecting with other vendors in your niche, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a DJ, a planner, or a makeup artist. So Joann, like what's kind of like your strategy for, you know, generating leads and inquiries for your business?
Well, I mean, it is pretty organic, but by the time they get to me, well, they have to get the venue, they have to get all that big stuff first, and then they've come to me, and now I'm kind of like one of like the last things on, you know, to kind of settle up and get, because now they have timing and all that good stuff. But I mean, basically is like stay active on my social media as much as possible. I would like to do that a little bit more, but just always updating like my website, updating my Yelp, especially in the area that I'm in. A lot of people rely on Yelp because there's so much around there. So they're looking at where's the venues, where's the restaurants, where's, you know, the churches. There's lots of churches there too. There's the beautiful downtown area with the city hall building and all that stuff. So Yelp is really great for me. And then good old fashioned, networking with other vendors, like you guys said, just knowing that they can trust you with their clients. And those are hard connections to make, because we are so busy when it comes down to us doing our jobs. All of us are into what we're doing, whether it's, coordinating or photography or videography or hair or makeup. We're so focused that we really don't have the time to be like, when we do see each other, we're like, hey, what's up? Because it's a familiar face, but it's really hard to kind of like, connect at that time, because we're doing our job. We are on time limits. So networking events, I think, are awesome. Bridal expos, smaller ones, I feel like for me are better, because you can really connect with your brides in person, and they can kind of feel your vibe. Like, are you good for them? Are they good for you? I really loved having those live interactions with the clients.
That's awesome. Because I know we recently attended the one at Loft early this year, and I think they have it every year. And
Yes.
they had well over 100 brides come through. So that's one way. Of course, it's a paid type of marketing, but I think some form of like that type of marketing, I think, is very effective than others. But it really depends. Like, that's why I ask you guys. Like, Vanessa, she does a lot more with networking and with the venues, while you kind of probably do very good on Yelp, because I think a lot of people that look for makeup, they really want reviews, right? They want to see how well the makeup artist does with their clients, and you do an amazing job with all your clients. So I think with photographers, there's like a mix, because there's some photographers that do very well on social media. Some do very well on just like paid Google ads. So let's go to Nick, because I think you do very well on like SEO and your website. So let's talk about, like, how do you get most of your leads, Nick?
Well, starting off with networking, like both of you said, networking is a big one for me too, with networking with the planner, artists. Actually, I'm really excited to find out you're at the Loft, Joann, because I have a few Loft weddings and they're looking for makeup artists, so that works out.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, so you'll be getting some people coming over. And then, working with the planners and all the vendors. I'll try and while I'm working, do photographing the wedding, also trying to help make their jobs easier and all that stuff. But working on my website, my SEO, come a long way. I definitely have I've done the ads, I've done the Knot and the Wedding Wire too, Vanessa, and I found that one out the hard way. Yelp was a good one. Yelp was I got in that for a year. So, and
remember Thumbtack?
I did get
Do you guys remember Thumbtack?
Thumbtack, yeah, I did Thumbtack. I had a few clients from Thumbtack. Yelp was a great one in the beginning. Yeah, Yelp was a great one in the beginning for me. Yelp, I should pay more attention to my Yelp, because it was a great place. But I definitely focused on my website. I actually redid my website last year. I switched platforms, went over to Squarespace, made a whole new website, started from scratch, and really focused on SEO, focused on Google. And a lot of my leads now are coming specifically, they're all organic. I haven't been running ads for over a year now. And I've been getting a lot more social media since I've been doing a lot more reels as well. The reels, and I try to stay as active as I can. It's hard, especially when it's busy. I could do a lot better with social media, but yeah, definitely like you were saying, Mike, the SEO on the website, putting those keywords on the photos, I really need to implement blogging, and but I've kind of done a little bit here and there on my website, and then just updating on social media, utilizing the stories. Stories is a powerful one, and at least putting my website in a story once or twice a week has been really helpful too, as far as leads go.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Do you find that on social media, I think we talked about this before, right? When people send you DMs, and I'm sure we all got DMs before. Do you find that it's kind of hard to convert those clients on Instagram, or is it easier for you?
I kind of find that it's all about speed, is really, because I mean, to be honest, it's like when these couples are looking for people, they're DMing 10 at a time or 20 at a time, right? And so if you're like on it and you're like, hey, da, 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 oh my gosh, yes, I'm available. Cool. Let's jump on a call. And you just make it super simple and super easy for them to connect and like get the money. I think that's the best way to convert them, no matter if it's on your website or if it's, I mean, because they can be coming to your website, but they're also coming to like 10 different websites on their lunch break. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's all about speed and the ease of making that sale actually happen. So
trying to get them on the phone.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost always, if I can get them on the phone and actually like lock them into like taking a call, I mean, my close rate is quite high. I mean, I wish it was better. I think everyone wishes it was better, right? No one has like 100% close rate, and I also my track it like I should either, like some do, I'm sure. But I think it's just making it easy for them for sure.
Awesome. Do you guys use like a calendar program to book appointments?
Have to.
Honeybook.
I use a Honeybook, but right now I'm switching over to Dubsado. But I use Calendly for my calendar.
Oh, nice. Do you use that too, Joann?
I use 17 Hats for my system, but I don't have a booking system on my website because, I mean, I feel like I need to really talk and get more information before anything can be like booked over online. I don't know if that makes sense or not, or if that's even, if that's even good. Should I try to put my stuff online to be able to book online? But again, I do bridal, and that's like, there's so many elements that combine that booking, that I gotta like have more information and things like that. But I do use a system called 17 Hats.
Yeah, that's great too. I think that's one of the things I think I really want to touch base on too. It's because clients, right? Wedding couples, or whatever you want to call them, they are looking for different vendors, and they are very busy, so they may not have a lot of time to sit down with you. And so the easier you make the booking process, like if you make it streamlined, as simple as possible, they will most likely book you just because of that. Right? If you make if you guys are still sending out like contracts via Google Doc, like you got to update that a little bit.
I'm like, if it is a document, if it's a PDF Word document, you got to get, it's 2023.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making it hard on yourself.
But yeah, that's one factor too. Like, I know we're talking about a ton of different topics here, but when you provide that client experience that, everything's so simple with like Vanessa or Nick or Joann's process, like, man, this is awesome. It seems like she's probably very organized. I trust her. Because if let's say she was looking for a makeup artist, and like they're still doing the old way where they're like, you can just send me a PDF, you print it out and send a contract. Like, no one does that anymore. But yeah, so let's kind of dive into like the booking process for everybody, because I think it's kind of really important for this topic, because we're talking about how to book more weddings. So Nick, like when a client inquires about a wedding date, or any photography service through like your website, like what's your process from there?
Immediately follow up with an email, if I can, a text message also, if they leave me their number, and give them the basic information, starting rates. I've recently updated my website with all my pricing packages, so that's actually been going a lot smoother actually with booking. They come to me exactly what they want, and pretty much just get them on the phone now right away, rather than kind of bouncing back and forth kind of stuff. But usually I'll send them an email. Reply rate on that's pretty good too. But if they leave me a number, I'll either follow up a little bit later that day with the number, or just like say, hey, here's also my number as well. Or the next day, do a follow up, try to get a reply back. And as far as that, where I go from there, get them on the phone. And like I was saying, I updated my website with all my pricing. So lately it's been as easy as them getting to know me, my personality, me, finding out whether or not we all vibe, and talking about the wedding and all the fun stuff, how the day is going to go, my process of that, also explaining more as far as how the booking will go. And especially lately with how a lot of things have been FaceTime or Zoom calls, a lot of couples, they don't have time for meeting in person, or a lot of my couples too are coming from out of state. I've been getting a lot of out of state couples that are getting married here. And so we do everything all on the phone. We have a quick phone call or set up for a FaceTime, and I go over the contract. They're really excited, especially like what we were just talking about as far as HoneyBook. I sell that, how it's all going to be really, really simple, really quick, all online. They can access it at all times. They'll have a breakdown. The proposal will be the invoice, contract, payments, and they love it. They tell me all the time, oh yeah, this other photographer I was talking to, they want to meet in person. They want me to sign these paper contracts and you name it. And a lot of these couples can't. So try to prepare to do it over the phone. And if they meet in person, it's even better. I'll push for that, to have an in-person meeting, but if they can't, they can't. But usually I'll send a proposal out, typically right after our first phone call. And I let them look it up and down. They can look at my contract. I let them know I don't have anything to hide. By all means, look at what the breakdown is going to be. Look at the process, and usually I'll get a little notification on my HoneyBook that they signed and paid the deposit, and go from there and set up the rest of the meetings.
That's awesome. How about you, Vanessa? Like, how's your process when someone inquires?
Yeah, so if it's through my website, they get an automatic, thank you for filling out our form, the canned email. And then it has the scheduling link right in there so they can schedule a call. But if they follow up, or if they inquire on social media directly, I'm always like, oh, thanks so much for getting in touch. And I have, something that I don't just blanket send a text back. So, I make it sure that it is customized to their specific situation. Because I do a lot of different things. I do planning, but I do some rentals. I do other types of events and stuff. So I can't just be like, copy, paste. But I always make sure, if they're asking for pricing, I never just like try to beat around the bush for pricing. I'm like, boop, there it is. Because I think that's, if it's a super, super budget type of bride, I mean, that's not my typical client. Mm-hmm. So it's like, they have to fall within a specific type of category. And then I'm like, okay, here's my pricing. Here's my, calendar link. So just to make it super simple for them. So they're not like, great. Okay, now can I have your link to the calendar? Like, I just give it to them all in the beginning so they can review. I always follow up as well, because a lot of times, sometimes I'm driving and I'm just like, boom, send, and I think a lot of us do our business on the go. I mean, HoneyBook's a great system. I just am now transferring to Dubsado, and the reason behind that is so I can offer my clients more value during their planning process, and because they do a lot more like on the automation side and that kind of thing, which we can get into. But I always just try to make it nice and simple. But yeah, HoneyBook's great because it's like, okay, here's the contract, here's the invoice, here's the payment, like, thank you. And I, of course, I always make it to where their payments are automatic. And of course, if they need it to be different, if they need to change the credit card, or they need to change the, the month, or like whatever, because there's always a long lead time as well. Usually with my clients, I always let them know that it's flexible, but it's going to be an automatic withdrawal unless you tell me otherwise. So I don't need to follow up with them and ask like, hey, just so you know, like next week that payment's coming out. Like, it's coming out. I mean, there's an automation in my system that tells them that, but I just try to make it easy for me, easy for them. So it's not one more thing that I also have to remember, like, oh yeah, tell the client I'm going to be taking some money from you. Reminder, like they know. So the system tells them that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I-
And I think everybody has different systems on how they book clients, but I think having like a client management system makes things so much easier on the back end. So for you, Joann, like 17 hats, because I'm kind of familiar with that, but is it kind of the same thing? Like you can tie in like your inquiry form to 17 hats, like when someone submits an inquiry?
Yeah, so when somebody submits an inquiry to me, then I turn around and send them a questionnaire, which I need all that information, obviously, to see if I'm even available, what's all the details, how many people, what's the location. I send them out a quote right away. So I kind of get right to the point, like just, yes, are we going to be able to work with each other? But I need that information first. So then once they do accept the quote, we set up a little payment for their retainer, because then I also have to book preview dates. So previewed hair and makeup date, which is 4 to 6 weeks before the wedding, plus the day of. So I need to book 2 dates out for them. I set up a Zoom consultation. That way they're a little bit more comfortable once they see me and they meet me in person, as opposed to before I didn't do the Zoom calls. And it kind of sometimes could be a little bit awkward, but once I started getting the hang of doing the Zooms, I really love them, because I could really, kind of visualize them on the day of. I can, get ideas. I can start working things into my head. So in that Zoom also, we go over all the logistics. I want to be able to answer any questions my clients have before they even give me the questions. So that's everything in all of my, everything that I send to them when it comes down to the booking process. All the instructions are going to be there, what they need to do, what everything includes. That way, all of that is taken care of. All the business side is taken care of, and we're just going to, create some magic. And yeah, that's really how my process goes. And it's pretty easy. And a lot of clients do really always tell me it was very easy to book with you. Everything just was clear cut and, just clear. And I like to also be very prompt with my clients, because I don't need things stacking up, because that's where you start to forget things, you start to become organized. But if you're on it, once you get that inquiry, once you get that payment or whatever, everything's going to get into my calendar, where I know for sure those are the jobs I'm doing, those are the dates I'm booked for, and there's no confusion. That's
awesome. Yeah, I want to touch base on like let me change the banner, because I think it's the response time, right? Is so important, because a lot of these brides, they're like, okay, they're contacting like 10 other, professionals, and typically whoever responds the quickest usually will get the booking. And so one of the things I do personally, if I get an inquiry form, so someone got an inquiry right now, right? That was like a ding.
That was me.
Yeah,
honeybook, it'd be like a little cha-ching. It's like the best honeybook sound ever. I love it.
There you go. Either you got paid or you got a new inquiry. But yeah, like I was saying, usually when I get an inquiry, I respond as fast as I can, unless we're on a set, which is really weird, because I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Sometimes I get like 3 inquiries on a wedding day.
Always.
And I try
to be a Wednesday wedding, and I'm getting all the inquiries that day.
Yeah. So I try to be super professional and not like be on my phone on the wedding day. But yeah, like going back to the topic, being as responsive as possible will get you more bookings. If you don't respond within 24 hours, then they're gonna move on, right? So what's typically your response time, Vanessa, when you get an inquiry, like pretty quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on my phone. Like my phone is glued to my hand, which is a bad habit, I'm sure. But I mean, I respond pretty quickly. Like, I mean, within an hour or so. If it's not immediate, it's like within an hour or 2 at the max. I mean, if it's at a wedding, don't know if I've had so many brides like actually reach out to me on a wedding, but I know sometimes on my wedding wire or the knot, like I'm a little bit slower to respond. But if it's through my social media or through my website, I like respond right away. But that's because I have if it's through my email, if it's through my inquiry form via my website, I have canned emails ready to go. And that's so number one, they get an instant thank you so much for your inquiry. That is an email that already gets sent off. And then I have pre-written emails that I just take 2 seconds to edit it to whatever question they ask for, whatever service they ask for. So those are already pre-written. And a lot of times I think wedding or just vendors and people in general are like, oh, well, aren't you worried that the bride is going to think it's, or the couple is going to think that it's, just that's for everybody. And I'm like, well, that's why you customize it just a little bit, but the chunk of the majority of it's already written. Right. So the links are already there, all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to worry about that. But so I respond pretty darn fast.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so important. I think, and a lot of people too, like when you get multiple inquiries, that's great. Like you have templates, like with Honeybook, with I think a lot of the platforms have a template that you have kind of saved, and all you do is just change the names or kind of, make it more specific to their wedding, right? And that's kind of what I do. Like if I know that they're inquiring about a wedding venue that I've been to, I'm gonna change my writing, my template to be more specific to that venue. Like, okay, if they're inquiring about Huron or whatever, like sometimes I'll state, oh, I love that venue. I've done multiple weddings there before. So now, like, at least they have that in their head. They're like, okay, Mike's actually shot there before. So, but yeah, like having a template just makes things go quicker. So
100%.
So how about you, Joann? Like, do you have something like that in terms of your system?
Yeah, most definitely. For every scenario, there's a template for. So whether it's hair and makeup, bridesmaid only, every category has its template. So that way it is super quick. And I'm super fast. Like, if I get it, usually they come in the nighttime, and I wake up early in the morning, like five in the morning. I'm gonna respond at that time, or right after my workout or whatever, 7 o'clock. Then I'm gonna respond. But I'm super quick with my response time, and that's really important, because if you don't get them, the next person will. And I've had a lot of feedback from a lot of clients regarding a lot of different vendors. And that's one of the things that they say. I called so many makeup artists, and you were the only one that actually picked up. Like, if they don't want to work, why don't they just, not, say, but no one got back to me. And I'm like, not me. I answer my phone all the time and respond back promptly.
Yeah, I've actually heard that a lot as well. So when I first got into the wedding industry, I was like, okay, well, let me kind of see what the process is. Because I was in corporate before, right? So I was like, let me reach out to all these wedding planners, and just for as an inquiry. And I kid you not, out of the 10 that I responded or that I inquired to, none of 2 got back to me. And I was like, wow, so that's the level. You guys didn't even respond to an interested bride, because I was like, okay, well, let me kind of do my due diligence and find out what the process is, what the pricing is. I had no idea. I was totally new, right? So I was doing my market research, and most of them never got back to me. I was like, wow, that bar is low. You just got to respond. Cool. Shocked. I was absolutely shocked. So yeah, I've heard that so often from my clients as well, just thank you so much. You actually responded. I'm like, really? And because whether it's
shocked.
They're shocked, which so just the customer service element of it goes so far.
Yeah. How about you, Nick?
Same, really, really quick. Templates, like you were saying, Mike, kind of the same process you have going. I actually just recently got a 5-star review about a month ago, because I responded to this guy so fast. And I was actually booked for the date of their wedding, and he was like, "You responded," and I go, "All right." I actually referred him to a few.
Oh, sorry guys, we lost Nick for a quick sec.
Oh no.
All right, Leah.
He's on a good point too.
Yeah. let's kind of break down. Well, we'll have him on in a second here, but I definitely want to kind of talk about this next topic here, preferred vendor list, because that's another way a lot of professionals can book more weddings, right? Oh, there he is. There you go, Nick. Well, let me give you a couple seconds here to
Sorry
respond.
about that, you guys.
Okay, hold on one second. I think your signal is kind of breaking up.
It was
here.
a phone call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you finish regarding your response.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Phone call. Shut me down. But yeah, no, I was just saying I do kind of the same process as Mike. I really fast response time. I have a templates that I've created, customized, kind of the same thing per venue that I've shot at and I've worked at. And I was just giving a quick little story that just a month ago I got a 5-star review from a potential client that I actually referred to a few other local photographers near us, and because of that one, he followed up with me later and told me he ended up going with that photographer because I referred him, because he trusted, on top of how fast I responded, the fact that I even responded. He said that he had hit up multiple photographers around the area, and not one of them wrote him back and said, "I'll get back to you later, that I'm busy." And he sent me a screenshot of that exact text that literally said, "I will get back to you later, I'm busy." And and the guy ended up leaving me a 5-star review. Said he can't shoot my wedding, but he responded to me and he showed great customer service, and he definitely showed me that, all that stuff. So yeah, I respond as fast as I can, though.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's just one way to go above and beyond, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so let's kind of move on here because I want to get to a few more topics. So here's another strategy that is really, really effective if you can get in with a lot of the venues in your local area and become a preferred professional for that venue. They're always going to refer you because you're on that list. So let's kind of dive deep into this one. Vanessa, since you're like the number one planner in Temecula, I guess.
Thank you. I don't know if that's true, but I'll take it. Thank you.
Well, what's your thoughts on that?
I think with regards to preferred vendor list, I mean, I think it's really needs to be mutually beneficial. It needs to be something where it's, again, you're not just like blanket sending emails to every single wedding venue in all of your surrounding area. That's I think ridiculous, and it's a huge waste of time on both your side as well as the venues, or whatever venue or vendor it is. But with venues specifically, it's every venue has their own vibe, their own style, their own type, the specific type of clientele that goes there. So it's like, is the type of clientele that's going to that venue, do you even really want to work with them? Is that your style? Is that your vibe? Do they attract a more like Gen Z kind of young type of bride or couple, or is it more older and mature? Is it is it more of a industrial style versus golf course, whatever? I know a lot of vendors were like, I don't care where I work, let's just work there. But I think you kind of got to narrow it down, right? Because everyone, some people are like, oh, I don't mind if I work in a barn with no electricity or janky electricity. And other people are like, I like to have an indoor bathroom, right? I mean, you kind of like got to narrow it down to what also fits your style and vibe. And then also do your due diligence and go in and like meet the team. Is like, I know that sounds like such a shocking thing, but it's like, do they have an in-house team? Do they not? Is there like wedding coordinator or event coordinator stuff? Are they like in-house? Are they like freelance? Is it, who owns the property? Is it like, people that live here, in the local area? Do they live abroad? Like, who's the one making the decision, right? So, because that's who actually controls the vendor list. Like, is it an all-inclusive venue? Is it not? Like, I mean, these are just super basic things like you need to know, right? Before you just like start blanket emailing people, like that's going to work. I mean, if that works for somebody, I would love to know, because I think that's great. Because I oversee for a couple of venues in town, I oversee their events email, even though I'm not like working at the venue every day, like an in-house coordinator would. I see all these emails just coming across from like, DJs from LA that I'm like, who are you? Like, we've never worked together. Why on earth would you be on our list? Like, you don't even live in the area. You don't even know the kind of clientele. You've never even been to this winery. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's so bizarre. But you have to figure out who's the decision maker. Do you even want to work there? If you go to the venue, is it like, does it look like the photos, or does it look like it's from 1985? You know what I mean? Like, you have to do your due diligence before you're just trying to kind of blanket and trying to figure out what works. But that's kind of but once you get there, it's like, you need to also show your value and why you would be a good fit for them to work with you. Again, giving them value first before you're just asking to take. So, maybe going to a venue and doing a live while you're there, so you can show your couples, oh, hey, like, I'm out here, in downtown Riverside, I'm out here in Redlands, I'm out here in San Diego, whatever, Temecula. And like, look at this great venue. Look at their ceremony area. Oh, wow. Look at their bridal suite. You could be doing your makeup here, whatever, right? Oh, this is what it looks like at sunset. You could have your golden hour photos, showing your couples that. And so then, and obviously tagging the venue, right? So they're like, oh, who is this photographer? Who is this makeup artist? Who is this planner? Right. And then, because kind of like the reverse engineering of how to at least get you known and get you on their radar as well. So
exactly. Those are great tips. How about you, Joann? Do you have any tips for people that may want to like be a preferred vendor for a venue?
Honestly, it's pretty tough for makeup artists to get.
Yeah.
So many makeup artists, I feel like, and it's tough. I don't know. I don't really have any, but if you have any, I would use them.
Because I think for you, right, when I think about your industry, the makeup industry, it is different because you're sometimes not at the venue, you're at the hotel, doing makeup, you're at someone's home sometimes, right? So you're not always at the venue. So that kind of makes sense. But I know
and
a
the
lot
venue
of
and the venue there, Loft 84, like, they have their own going on. You know what I mean? Like, I am one of their preferred vendors, and I'm featured in their magazine and I believe on the website or whatever. But at the same time too, and they have a lot of makeup artists in the area as well that they work with too. So there's a lot of kind of competition, I guess, in my area. But I think that when you make those real connections with those other vendors, they know that you're about business, and that's why they want to work with me, because I don't really mess around. I'm just straight about like making the client happy, getting the job done, doing what we got to do, and not messing around.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. How about you, Nick?
I definitely agree. Go. Tongue twisted right now. I have my daughter peeking in here. I agree with everything, Vanessa, what you said. Yeah, right. On the spot. I agree with everything with what Vanessa said. And yeah, I've done that a few times too. Gone on the live, just utilize the live, because I've been trying to get more live on Instagram and all the other platforms, but go live and show the venue that I'm a preferred vendor for. One of them is Hidden Valley. I'm gonna get it wrong right now. Oh my God. Hidden Valley Retreat in Rancho Cucamonga, and I've gone live just to show the venue during some downtime, kind of showing, during dinner time. I eat my dinner real quick, go live, show potential clients, or even clients that are currently looking for a venue, and showing, I shoot here. Here's benefits of it. Here's what it looks like, and I've gotten some pretty good feedback from that as well. And I think it's a great opportunity to, like you were saying, to work with people, get to meet them, and their value as far as my value goes, but get to work with people that with other vendors and people, and venues that I absolutely love, that I'm comfortable with, that I vibe with, and such as Loft 84. I love that venue. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I love the whole. I actually didn't know about preferred vendor lists until you brought that up sometime last year, and about pitching it. So Temecula has a bunch of blanketed emails from me, but no, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Is that why you haven't responded back to me, Vanessa? No,
I never respond. I mean, I get multiple a week. I'm so bad. Well, but because I never respond, and I oversee, I mean, obviously my own personal email, but 2 different wineries and all of their events. I don't ever respond because I'm like, dude, like. And then also too, side note, PSA, for other vendors, like, please stop filling out other vendors' contact like forms, because I get all excited, like, yay, there's a new lead, and I'm like, cool, it's a DJ like in freaking Phoenix that wants to like.
I can't stand.
You're like, you freaking, you know what? Like, dang it! I was like, okay, that's cool. I thought it was a bride trying to give me money, but that's fine.
Yeah, going to the photographers and videographers out there, if you want to work with me, you want to shadow, you want a second shoot, me and Mike, I think I speak for all of us here actually, but yeah, especially Mike, please don't fill out our booking forms online. We have a little area where there's email or phone number. Please contact me that way.
Right? DM me,
yeah. You didn't need to book me for the day to just to let me know you want to shadow me. But yeah, no, same thing. And as far as how I go about the preferred vendor is, I typically wait for the end of the night. Everybody's busy. Vanessa, you're running around. I think I worked with you and Mike and Sharon, and you were nonstop. And there is no point. Yeah, there is. At no point am I going to run up and be like, hey, can I be on your vendor list? And
like, hold on while I like wipe the sweat from my.
Yeah. Wait, who the hell are you again? Yeah. And then same thing. I may reach out maybe like via Instagram. I'm definitely going to be reaching out, like I was saying, for my client for makeup for Loft. I have a couple this year, so reaching out and probably that way tagging. But yeah, definitely the same way. I love to show my value. I'm not going to just, hey, what's up? I'm a local photographer. I want to, be on your vendor list. I've never shot at your venue before, but and I've learned that from Mike, and then I've also learned that from YouTube, kind of the ways about going about becoming a preferred vendor. And it's definitely has helped me out a lot as far as my business goes.
Yeah. I just want to add to that. Sometimes you don't need to be a preferred vendor on these lists. I think Vanessa and Joann made a good point, is if you can really make a good connection with the other vendors that work there, they'll refer you. So like, you don't really have to worry about the list. Because sometimes I find like, they have a massive list. It's like it's like 2 pages. I'm like, okay, well, if they give them the list, there's a lot of people on the vendor list. But if they remember you, like, if you make an impression on the coordinator or the manager, they're like, oh yeah, I have a list, but go talk to Mike or go talk to Vanessa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes it's like you think that the coordinator's the one, like the coordinator from that venue is the one that controls the list. Oftentimes it's not. It's usually like, whoever her boss is, or whatever, or his boss, and it's you have to find out who's the decision maker. Sometimes, like, I've had a lot of people at Chiron ask me like, oh, can I be on the list? Can I be on the list? I'm like, I do not. I just sit through all the weddings. Like, they don't even know where that dang list is. Like,
exactly.
And I think for things like that makeup artists can do, because I know some local makeup artists in the Temecula area, they have the same challenge as well with getting on lists, is because they do come at a later date and they're oftentimes not on site, that type of thing. Even if you had like like a brochure that you could drop off, or a little makeup sample box or whatever, like, how they used to do those like Mary Kay samples or whatever, go to a Sephora and get a bunch of samples, make a little gift bag to give whoever the right person is, not just like be like, here's all these things. Like, no. Figure out who the right person is, use LinkedIn, network, right? If it's a venue that you're really wanting to get into, and then be like, hey, just wanted to drop this off, and here's my information, my pricing, whatever. Along with it, I think that goes a long way for photographers, saying like, hey, I'd love to just come and shoot some new photos of your venue, or do it and then give it to them, right? Yep. I have a restaurant as well. I've had people come in and do that, and they're like, hey, I'm a new photographer in the area. Can I just come take some shots, of your restaurant and give them to you? And I'm like, yes, you can. Thank you so much. I will keep you in mind. Or headshots of their staff or whatever, because they're always changing staff. They're always updating like the ceremony area or whatever, or they need different photos for different seasons or whatever, right? Everyone needs that content. So I think that that's a huge value to be able to give to them. Obviously doing it for free, obviously making sure it's convenient for them. Again, I think that's just a good way to stand out from the crowd. So just some
awesome. Yeah. Great tips for everybody out there.
Yes.
So let's move on to the last topic here, because I really want to touch base on this. Because I think for anyone, for example, if anyone's starting out a business, especially in the service industry, especially in the wedding industry, you may not have a lot of money in the beginning, right? Because you're probably putting money elsewhere, maybe like your equipment, if you're a photographer, or if you're a makeup artist. I mean, you got to buy all kinds of stuff, or your invoicing system, stuff like that. So what's one way we can do free marketing? Well, social media. And it doesn't have to be Instagram. It could be Facebook. I know a lot of people do very well on Facebook. Some people do very well on LinkedIn. Actually, I've met a few people on there that actually book like headshot photographers. So, but let's really dive into social media, because I think a lot of people still don't really like fully accept it. Because sometimes there's that stigma about like, oh, it's too much work. I gotta post every single day, 3 times a day. Like, you don't have to, but at least just show like that you're active. Because there's been a couple times where I've had clients call me and inquired through me, and they booked me because they were looking through my Instagram and they looked at another photographer and they weren't active for months. And so it shows like,
are they still in business?
Yeah.
Are they alive? I don't know. So it's also like the perception too, right? And it is what it is. Social media, it is what it is. So the perception is they want someone that is continuously active in the industry and that is keep producing. Because I mean, if you're not active, like, I don't know what they're thinking, right? So let me ask you, Vanessa. I know you do very well with like tagging a lot of different vendors and like collaborating with other businesses. Like, what's kind of like your strategy on? Let's focus on Instagram.
Definitely staying consistent. That is, a huge thing, because I know, again, when I was building my personal preferred vendor list, I would go on people's profiles and I was like, oh my God, first of all, is it like 1982? What's going on here? Like, if you have like horrible photos, like there's just no excuse for that. It's not okay. But again, if they weren't active in the last 2 months, 6 months, whatever, I'm like, are they working still? Have they not had a wedding in this long? Like, why? Like, what's the reasoning for that? And then also too, because I needed to make sure that the social media presence that those vendors have is reflective also of my brand, right? Because if I'm going to refer Mike, and your social media is on point, so obviously this is not towards you, but like if your social media was horrible and I'm like, Mike's the best, gotta go to Mike, and then they're like, Mike, what? Like, I don't know, because his social media, no, like it looks bad, right? It's like a broken chain in the link. So I made sure that I really checked out everyone's social media to make sure it was on point. And I know we're talking about Instagram, but like Instagram, Facebook, because like you can't tag people on Facebook if you don't have a Facebook. Like my gosh, people, it's 2023. Facebook is a mandatory requirement. Like and because the groups, oh my gosh, the groups was by far, this goes back to the leads. I don't know why I didn't mention this, but Facebook groups was by far one of the top ways of how I got my leads last year. Like it was ridiculous. And
Yep.
yeah, and that closed. I was like, oh my gosh, great. But yeah, on social media, it's like tagging is so important. And for on the photographer side, it always kind of blows my mind when they don't share the gallery. I don't know why they would do that. I mean, I'm always super particular with making sure that everyone's tagged, especially everyone from the whole night, or I try my best, but it's like everyone from the whole night. Like, you know, the florals might be like in the way background of the picture, but I also tag the florist. You know, if you don't have all the time in the world to be doing your social media, like you don't have to be doing it in the moment. You can use social media schedulers. There's AI right now. Like it's a new thing. My gosh, like what used to take hours to do now takes minutes. So, but I know, I mean, I totally get it because it's so hard to stay on top of it and make sure like the interns that you're hiring or whatever are like tagging the right person and all that stuff. And like, oh my God, Mike knows. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Misspell my handle all the time.
Yeah, they like leave that with the Y off. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what is wrong? Anyways, it's hard to find good help, but yeah, no, you have to be active. You have to be using all the ways. Instagram rewards you for using all of the new features and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not very good at showing up like personally on my Instagram. I know that that's definitely something that people, especially, you know, the millennials for sure were really wanting that, but the Gen Z generation is like, they want to see who you are personally.
Exactly.
So that's personally an area where I need to get better, but
exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, great tips. I think especially for makeup artists and photographers, it's all about visual, you know, for clients that are looking. So like even for Joann, right? Like you do a great job of like showing the before and after. I think that's like super smart because people want to see how they look before and then how are they going to look after. So what's kind of like your strategy, Joann, when you post stuff on social media?
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually had a potential client today talk to me and say that she did do a lot of research for a makeup artist, and the reason why she wanted to talk to me was because I did the befores and afters, and she was like, they could see her, she could see herself in one of these women. So I really like to focus on, I mean, I love to focus on the potential that every client has.
Right.
So by showing that before and showing that after, I mean, not everybody feels comfortable with a before picture, but obviously I ask them permission before because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. If they really don't want it, I don't want to take it. But if you're allowing me and you'll let me, then my clients really do appreciate that because I don't do really edit. I don't do any editing on my, you know, my pictures. It is what it is, because that's the kind of makeup that I do in my style. It's more realistic. It's not that like heavy social media. That's not my style. Those aren't my clients. So I really, classic and timeless is my style. And that's what I want my clients to, you know, see when they go onto my page. I want them to see that, oh, she's not trendy. She's not, you know, doing all this like crazy hieroglyphic eyeliner and things like that. It's more my clients that really want to look like themselves, but the best version of themselves. And also educating my clients. So that's the main important thing is teaching them things, teaching them stuff, because a bride is probably their first time being a bride for the most part. Now, I do have brides that have been married a couple of times before, whatever. But for the most part, they don't know what to expect. So there's a lot to expect when it comes down to makeup and hair. So that's my main thing, is also to try to educate my clients and give them as much information as possible in order for us to achieve the best look possible for their big day.
Yeah, I think that's great advice with social media. Sometimes, you know, some vendors get too caught up in like being flashy, you know, doing the TikTok dance, and instead of doing that, they're attracting, you know, it's also what you put out, right? If you're dancing all the time, you're what are you attracting? Are you attracting people who want to dance?
that might be your ideal client. I don't know. You will not find me dancing. not on social media anyways.
So how about
I've
you,
been putting
Nick?
a lot more I was gonna say I've been putting a lot of love into TikTok lately, and I'm kind of don't know how to feel about that right now. I don't know if I feel TikTok. I started getting to my TikTok's been growing a little bit, and then the recent news, I'm like, I'll still focus, but I do focus a lot on Instagram and Facebook. There was a moment where I had TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, 500px. I was treating kind of like my Yelp like that too. Constant updates, trying to, and it was definitely burning me out. And I wasn't posting. I was that photographer that hadn't posted for months, you know. And I get, for me, my art is very important, and I'm just not one of those people who just throw a picture out there. And I like doing, you know, post tagging all the vendors. I like putting a lot of thought into that, you know, who was there, say a little something about my bride and my groom, or just the couple in general, something a little special, maybe something that we shared, or something they told me, add a song that they like. I'll mark when they'll do their first dance. I usually write down in my notes if I have a moment, or try to record it real quick, what their first, like a little video, what their first dance was, so I could play their that in like a video, if I could put that together like for a reel or something like that. But I do actually put a little effort into my posts, especially more lately, and I've been focusing more on Facebook and Instagram. I have it connected right now where if I post on one of them, like on Instagram, it'll post automatically to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. I still have one of those. I just let it, wow, it posts to that. So, and I've had a few clients hit me up through Tumblr, which was interesting. I was like, wow, trip out. But since I've been really focusing on just that platform, Instagram and Facebook, it's definitely has freed up time and space for me to really put a lot more focus into it. And just you know, I like I was saying earlier, I utilize the stories, and I utilize stories to really show myself, whether I'm at the gym or what I'm eating. And I've noticed, like you were saying, Vanessa, a lot of the Gen Z, they love that. And right, Gen Z, that's the newer one. Okay, yeah, no, they love that. I've booked quite a few clients just off of my stories. Like, yeah, I've been following you for the last couple months, and you just seem like you have a great vibe, you know. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, I also like your stuff. And never seen a like from them, but they like my story every time. And they're like, oh yeah, like we'll get on the conversation about, because I've asked quite a few of my clients, you know, how did you find me? Especially with social media, what did you like? What kind of pulled you in? And they'll tell me the stories. I pay attention to the stories. I don't like doing the doom scroll. I just want to look at who I follow, because they try, you know, Instagram tries to do an algorithm thing, and they're like, oh yeah, they don't show me everybody, you know. And so I'm following you and a couple other photographers, and so I have you guys right here. I search you. If you have a new story, it shows me you're staying up to date, shows me what you're doing, you know. And so I'll utilize that, like I was saying, put my website on there at least once or twice a week somehow. I'll even post like a picture, or I'll say I have a new post out there, and then I'll post stuff I'm just into. Like I posted a funny one today of like it was that real popular thing going on with Nicholas Cage, where he like looks over and Pedro Pascal is like, you know, smiling, and it was like how the groom looks at the photographer when he says just a few more. I had a lot of feedback from that, from just posting that. So yeah, and it wasn't even my post. I just reshared it, and I had a lot of feedback. People hitting me up because that post was popular, and yeah, people hitting me up like, hey, I'm following you now. I'm getting married in 2024. You know, are you booking then? You book out that far? Yes, I do. So, yeah. But yeah, as far as social media goes, I'm definitely focusing mainly on Instagram right now and Facebook. And I think those are I still have active ones of, like I was saying, the ones I named, but I try to stay more on those two platforms. And it seems to really work for me. And I utilize, like I was saying, utilize stories. I try to post consciously. I'm at least trying to do 2 posts a week. I would like to post every single day. Sometimes I'm just busy. I'm out actually living, or, you know, I have my daughter. I'm a dad, by the way. I have a 7-year-old daughter. And and we do homeschool her, so she does charter school, so I'm pretty busy with that when I'm not working. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, great tips, Nick. Yeah, I think it's just finding, the time to do it with social media, creating content that kind of like reflects your values. Don't be someone else,
Yeah.
pretending to be someone else, and don't make it super complicated. Just there's so many
Yeah.
ways you can go around it. I mean, there's apps you can use like later to post, automatically. I mean, there's so many ways you can get around with it if you're kind of like really struggling with social media. I mean, you have AI now that can create captions for you. So yeah, there's so many ways. But my last thing I want to talk about is maybe so we're gonna wrap it up soon here. So maybe if you guys want to share one advice that you have learned over the years from doing this that can really make an impact to someone who wants to make this business a sustainable one, right? That maybe works for you. I mean, every piece of advice is different, but let's start with Joann this time. So Joann, like, what's one piece of advice you would give someone maybe in the makeup industry that would really help them out?
Well, I think it's like probably the most common one is just like be true to yourself and do this only if you really love it, because sometimes it's not always about the money. And sometimes, I mean, it's really just about the love of your craft that you're doing, and just have passion for everything that you do. Because without that, you know what? Don't even do it. You don't have the passion.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great. I really believe in that too. I think if you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't even feel like work, and it comes out organically. So
Right.
that's amazing. How about you, Nick?
Reach out to professionals in your area, local to you, and put yourself out there. Ask to shadow, ask them for advice, ask them to point you in the right direction if they're busy, and yeah, don't give up, and just know it takes a little time, and yeah.
Awesome, great. How about you, Vanessa?
I would say that you just got to go for it. Again, if it's your passion, if it's your dream, you're never going to be quite ready to go out on your own, start your own business. Taking that leap of faith is really scary, especially if the money's not there right away, which it won't be, because being an entrepreneur is a hardcore hustle, and it's a hustle every day, which we all know, right? But I think if you are like waiting for this like light bulb to go off to be like, okay, cool, I'm ready. Now I know all the things, and now it's like I'm gonna have all the clients because I just did this course, I just did this, like, I've interviewed all these people. Okay, now I got it. Like, you're never gonna be quite ready, so you just got to go out there. You've got to start making it happen. You have to start, even if it's just volunteering as like whatever second shooter or assistant coordinator or assistant makeup artist on the day, whatever it is, just so you can start learning the ropes, and then start talking about it, start telling people, hey, this is what I'm doing. Even if people might be naysayers, whether it's in your community or even your family, your friends, being like, oh, what do you know about photography? Like, that's crazy. You need to go get a 9-to-5, whatever. You just need to start like really owning it and really getting your feet wet and just going forward, because time will pass no matter what. Right. So, and you got to do it if it's your passion and what makes you happy and what lights your soul on fire. So no one's going to make you or your dreams happen. It's only going to be you. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right. Yeah, I was thinking about this topic for a long time today, because I had a conversation, another podcast earlier today, and I was like, well, what would I tell, like, maybe my younger self when I first started? I think one piece of advice I would give someone right now, if they're starting out in the wedding photography industry, it's just to really believe in yourself. Because I think in the beginning I didn't really believe in myself that I can really do it. And that's why it took me so long to go full time, because I was still working a 9-to-5. and it took me like five years to really like, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job and just go all in. So if you're really passionate about it and you find out that you love what you do, just believe in yourself. And when you do that, like Joann was saying, things are going to start aligning for you, because you're going to work, you're going to be obsessed with it, and you're going to learn as much as you can from everyone else, and just, go balls to the walls, and just keep pushing yourself too. Like even now, like I'm always trying to level up, right? We all trying to do that, try to level up our business and learn from other people. And even today, like I mean, I'm always learning, even today's podcast. So but yeah, again, thank you guys so much for hopping on today. It was a delight for our viewers. I don't know if you guys can see, but there was like at least, like, I'd say over 20 people that hopped on. Not everybody stayed on, but they kept on and off.
Thank you.
But for you guys that are watching this later on as we're recording, please follow us on our social media platforms. So mine is at Photos by Mikey. Miss Vanessa, what is yours?
Is Finer Weddings and Events.
Awesome. Nick?
Photo G Nicholas for Instagram.
Awesome. And you, Joann?
It's my name, Joann Salgado, makeup artist.
Awesome. And I'll put everybody's contact information down below in the description. So if you guys want to contact Vanessa, Nick, or Joann, please, they are amazing wedding vendors. I trust them 100%. So please contact them.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you guys so much. We're going to wrap it up here. Man, it's almost like an hour and a half. So it's one of the longest ones I've had. But
I'm past my bedtime.
Yeah, it's like my dogs are like, I gotta walk me, daddy. But yeah, all right, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Nice meeting you.
Bye. Nice to meet you.